These are two things Christian men must learn about. And the first one's going to be aided with my Google Doc because there's a lot of verses to go over here. So this is going to be about the verses, the prophecies of Jesus. It's crucial to remember that Jesus is the Messiah, the prophesized Messiah. So it would make sense to understand what prophecies Jesus fulfilled, and I'm going to go over a few of them here. So Isaiah 7:14, there's going to be a lot of prophecies of Jesus in Isaiah. So let me find my mouse really quickly because I hate recording on the setup because I always lose my mouse on my screen. Okay, I got it. So, therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son named Emmanuel, which literally means God with us. Isaiah 9:6. These are the names of Jesus right here. Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Micah 5:2. The Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. Well, Jesus was born in Bethlehem, wasn't he? Oh yeah, virgin, obviously Mary was a virgin, Jesus' mother. Isaiah 53. So Isaiah 53 is probably the most, blatant. It's so blatant when you read it. It's talking about Jesus. It's so obvious. We're going to read it here. Okay, we're going to go over this. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Remember, Jesus was a common carpenter. And everyone's looking. I was like, wasn't that carpenter from Galilee? It wasn't like he was glowing or he just looked like God on earth or anything. He looked like the common man to everyone else. Nothing in appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised and we held him in low esteem. That's a very good microcosm for Jesus' life, isn't it? Surely took up our pain and bore our suffering. Crucifixion. Yet we considered him punished by God. That's interesting because a lot of people don't make this connection. In Deuteronomy, it says, anyone who dies hung to a tree, or something of that to that effect. And remember, Jesus was crucified on a cross of wood. So by that token, Jesus was cursed by God because he died on a tree. So that's interesting that that's brought up here. Stricken by him and inflicted, but he was pierced, interesting, for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Interesting. Died for our sins. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shears is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and the rich in his death. That's it. Keep this in mind, and with the rich in his death. Keep that in mind. That's going to be relevant later. Though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And through the Lord makes his life an offering for sin. Interesting. And he will see his offspring and prolong his days. And the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servants will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life onto death. If you wanted to summarize Jesus' life in one passage, this is how you would do it. Literally, this is a summary of Jesus' life. And now, keep in mind, Isaiah was written in... Right, let me be sure here. When was Isaiah written? Yeah, okay, my guess was going to be right. Like 700 BC. Yeah. There, 700 BC, roughly. So, and Jesus lived, remember, BC means before Christ. So we could literally do it like this. 700 years before Jesus Christ was born, this was written. And yet, this is a perfect summary of Jesus' life. Interesting. And now Paul's like, well, how do you know the dating's right? How do you know it's not written later? The earliest manuscripts of Isaiah predate Jesus. Like, I'm 99% sure of that. Now, Psalm 22. So, the first part of it, already you see the prophecy here. My God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus said that on the cross in Aramaic. You see here. Let me move myself so you can see that. Okay, that works. Here, in Aramaic, he literally said exactly what the psalm said. And you can see, if you keep going, credit today, but you're not. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You're the one Israel praises, and your ancestors trust. Credit to say, but I am a worm and not a man, scorned by everyone, despised by the people. All who see me mock. They hurl insults, shaking their heads, say, he trusts in the Lord to say, let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. Remember, they were mocking Jesus on the cross. If he's the Messiah, why doesn't he save himself? The Messiah is why doesn't he save himself? This is literally right there. Again, Psalm, when was Psalm written? Psalm was probably written before Isaiah, if I had to guess. Yeah, it was, like 1000 BC. Yet you brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you, even in my mother's breast. From birth, I was cast on you. From my mother's womb, you have been my God. Don't be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. The bulls surround me. Strong bulls of Bashan encircle me. Roaring lions that tear their prey. Remember, Jesus is surrounded by executionists. Okay? Executionist Roman guards. I'm poured out like water, and all my joints are out of joints. My heart has turned to wax. It has melted within me. My mouth is dried like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me... Oh, he's mewing. That's so dumb. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs surround me. A pack of villains, executionists. They pierce my hands and my feet. Interesting. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment. Remember, they were dividing Jesus' clothes. They're soldiers. But you, Lord, do not be far from me. You are my strength. Come quickly to help me. Deliver me from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dogs. Rescue me from the mouth of the lions. You save me from the horns of the wild oxen. I will declare your name to my people. In the assembly I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you descendants of Jacob, honor him. Revere him, all you descendants of Israel. For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. He has hidden his face from him, but he has listened to his cry for help. From you comes the theme of my praise in the great assembly. Before those who fear you, I will fulfill my vows. And a very good summary of the events of the crucifixion right there. Oh wait, it still goes. Let's see if there's anything else relevant here. Before we satisfied, Lord, earth, sure. All right. Next, Zechariah 9. He will come, see your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey. Jesus came to Jerusalem on a donkey. Interesting. Now, genealogy. So this is the interesting angle. I mean, a lot of people, this is like, so there's someone, I can't say his name on YouTube because YouTube doesn't like him. His name is Brother N. If you know, you know. But anyways, he used to be a Jewish person, right? He grew up in the Jewish, what do they call it? Like Jewish temple, Jewish synagogues, whatever it is, right? And no, because of his angle, this is what convinced him. He said this is what convinced him that Jesus was the Messiah, and it was the genealogy. Now, it's important to remember the Messiah had to come from a descendant of David, right? And Joseph, Jesus' earthly father, not his actual father, but his earthly father, I guess you could say his actual father, was a descendant of David. Now, this is relevant because, as far as I understand, in 70 AD, so Jesus was crucified in 30 AD, so about 40 years after Jesus died, the temple was destroyed in Jerusalem, I believe, and the genealogy was lost. So now, because the Messianic, not Christian Messianic Jews, but Jews who believe the Messiah is still coming, they are going to have a very hard time proving that this could even be the Messiah. Because remember, the Messiah has to be a descendant of David. How can you keep track of this? with all the intermarrying and all this other stuff. Yet, in Matthew and Luke, there's a straight genealogy, as he was going down here. See, King David. David was father Solomon. This goes down to Solomon, Asa, Uzziah, Jotham, Azim, Manson, Ammon, Josiah. That's how Babylon. Azor. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these names. Eleazar, Mathan, Jacob. And Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary. Mary was the mother of Jesus, who was called the Messiah. So that's another interesting angle to look at it. That might be convincing to someone like Brother N. Maybe a Jewish person would be convinced by that, like he was. So those are, for the most part, there's a lot more prophecies, but for the most part, that's all you got to understand. Yeah, Jesus was prophesied in the Old Testament. It's obvious. Now, the second thing you need to learn is who buried Jesus. 99% of Christians don't know who. 99% of Christians are like, what? Peter? Mary? No. It was someone who came out of nowhere. All right. So I think to start here, it's crucial to go over Jesus' trial. All right. So Jesus was brought in. By the way, they broke the rules of how trials should be conducted, but they brought Jesus in. Jesus to be tried for questioned. Right. But the Sanhedrin, the Jewish leaders, they've been on this guy's tail forever, basically. And Jesus comes in shackled up like a criminal. Comes in and they bring in false witnesses to bear testimony against Jesus, but they contradict each other. And Jesus is standing there, shackled like a criminal. Caiaphas, the high priest, points to him. He's tired of all the dilly-dallying. He points to him and just asks him straight up, "Are you the Christ? Are you the Messiah? Are you Son of the living one?" That's what he asked Jesus. And Jesus all shackled up. And knowing, he's, interesting because you look at the Psalms like, lions and dogs surround me. The Sanhedrin were after him. Okay, they didn't like him. All right? And you know what Jesus answered? It's this question. Are you the Christ? Are you the Messiah? Son of the living one? Jesus says, shackled up, I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. Caiaphas, the high priest, tears his clothes. No need for more testimony. He has convicted himself. Blasphemy. And that would lead to Jesus' crucifixion. Now, it's very interesting to know there that this isn't fully relevant to the two things you need to learn, but Jesus responded with, I am. That's very important to realize because remember in Exodus chapter 3, God referred to himself as I am. Here, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. That's what, are you Son of Man? Are you the Messiah? I am. And Jesus used the phrase I am as well on other occasions. Now, there's something interesting to remember here. The reason why I bring this up is because there are actually two people who are part of the Sanhedrin. One was a Jewish leader. I forgot. I don't think leader is the right word. Some other word. But the other one was a Sanhedrin member. They were both in Jewish leadership, right? And they were sympathetic to Jesus. One was not that surprising. Nicodemus. Because he was mentioned about beforehand, right? It's not too surprising that he was sympathetic to Jesus. He talked to him personally. But another one just comes out of nowhere. And his name is Joseph of Arimathea. Now, this is a very important fact for two reasons. One, Joseph of Arimathea's burial of Jesus. And what happened was, I probably should have said this beforehand, but Jesus was crucified and he was taken down from the cross. And Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate, can I get the body? And he probably paid money for it. Can I get the body? He got the body and gave the body a proper burial in a tomb. He was out of nowhere. I mean, Joseph of Arimathea wasn't mentioned before. Nicodemus was. Joseph wasn't. Now, this is significant because, one, it fulfills a prophecy. If you remember in Isaiah, I told you to keep in mind the fact of, being in a grave with the rich, or something like that, right? Joseph of Arimathea was a rich man. He was accounted to as a rich man. So that's one fulfillment right there. And second, if you watch my video about the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, you understand this. This is a very significant fact, right? There's 5 facts that we could establish for Jesus that most scholars agree on, right? And the second fact in that argument is that Joseph of Arimathea buried Jesus. And it's important to realize that Joseph of Arimathea is a very... this gives credibility to the burial account, because Joseph of Arimathea is it's improbable that he would be a made-up figure. Because remember, if you know Paul's story, you would know Jews were in the middle of killing Christians, right? And how crazy would it be for the gospel writers to make up Joseph of Arimathea, a member of the very people who are killing them at the very moment, to do such a noble thing, pay for the body, might likely pay for the body, take it down, right? Ask for it personally, get it, bury it in a tomb, give it a proper burial. And also, Joseph of Arimathea, he was a well-known figure, right? Remember, he's a part of the Sanhedrin. Okay, it's not like some random dude they got, right? Sanhedrin, this is a significant person. And so is Nicodemus. It makes the burial account unlikely to be made up. And also, the burial account leads straight to the empty tomb account. Because remember, if Jesus was buried, well, the Sanhedrin, when Joseph and Nicodemus were there when he was buried. Now, Joseph, I think Nicodemus is only mentioned in a few Gospels. Joseph is mentioned in all of them. Okay, remember the Sanhedrin buried Jesus, so the Sanhedrin knows where the body is. Okay. Well, when the disciples were saying, Jesus resurrected, Jesus resurrected, you know what they said? They stole the body. Now, why would they say they stole the body if the tomb wasn't empty? It would only make sense to say something like that if Jesus' tomb was empty. And they know where the tomb is. One of their members literally buried him. So all he could say is like, they forgot. Whether, that's not a satisfactory explanation in any regard. So it's important that you understand that Joseph of Arimathea buried Jesus. And that leads straight to facts number 2 and 3 in the argument for Jesus' resurrection fulfilled, right? And remember, facts 1, 4, and 5, you watch the video, you'll get a full breakdown of this. You don't necessarily need the Bible to establish those. You can get those from outside sources. So Joseph of Arimathea is a very pivotal figure when trying to make the case for Christianity. It's a shame a lot of people don't remember who he is. With all that being said, this is all part of a bigger movement, okay? This is Build Back Christian Men. This is movement. This is an uprising. The core of an uprising is education, right? Because before you can take action, you need to know what you're doing. Or else you're just going in circles, you're driving a car without an end destination. So it's very important that you educate yourself. And that's one of the goals I have, to help educate everybody, and then have those people educate other people, and have a nice big movement where we're changing the world. If you'd like to join the movement, link in the description to the Discord. Join my email list. Go on my website. You get a little pop-up. You get a free ebook. You get sold stuff. You get newsletters. You get your advantage. Okay. Instagram, like my posts. Follow me so my Instagram looks better. Subscribe for more videos. Those are my call to actions. I'll see you in the next one.